Windsor students, Windsor teacher.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
I had seen Carrie at the Union Street Tavern Trot the other day, and Channel 61 came around and said, "Does anybody want to get on film?" And of course, I went up and said, "This is the Windsor Educator of the Year." If you watched Channel 61 the other night, you might have seen her. She was also very instrumental in a great attempt by Aquanic School to get one of the young dogs that were being raised, a puppy, service dog, I guess. And they had a challenge on Channel 61. There were 3 different names: Windsor, Bradley, and Mystic. And it was a full court press by Pequannock, at least. I know I contacted my daughter up in Boston to vote for Windsor, but unfortunately, Windsor came in last.
Oh, that's okay.
Not Next introduction is for Windsor's Paraeducator of the Year, Beth O'Shea. Again, Dr. Daniel Batchelder, Aaron Gruber.
I'll stick with the doctor. So our
Dr.
next.
Lockhart.
Exactly. I'd like to call up Principal Taryn Gruber to introduce our Paraeducator of the Year, Beth O'Shea.
All right, so good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm humbled to introduce the Windsor Paraeducator of the Year. I was told to shorten what I said at the convocation, so I won't say everything I had to say, but I'm going to focus on a few points. So Beth O'Shea is truly the salt of the earth. She would do anything for anyone. People say she would give the shirt off her back. They really mean it. She really would. I would like to repeat what I said at the convocation in terms of what students said about her. These students were 3 and 4 years old when they worked with Beth, and Beth focuses on students, so that's why I'm going to pull out these comments from students. One student said, "When I needed help, she was always there for me." Another student said, "She handmade a chapstick holder so I could always find it." Another student, remember, 3 and 4, "I love her to the moon and back. She taught me a lot of cool things." I like that Mrs. O'Shea taught me how to write my name, and I love doing art with her. She would jump on the trampoline with me. Mrs. O'Shea always sets up secret surprises for us. And you know, kids will say what they really mean. And these kids loved Beth O'Shea, and so do we. Windsor is very lucky to have her. So, Beth O'Shea.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. I work with some of the best paraprofessionals in the state of Connecticut, and I'm honored to represent them. I have always worked in early education, and we have shirts that say early intervention is the best intervention, and I truly believe that, and it's up to us as adults to honor that statement and take full advantage of the time that we have with these children, because it will send them on to a successful educational career. Thank you.
Come on down.
You have to run the gauntlet.
Julie.
And a picture.
I know, right?
Learn the order of business.
You guys ready?
Emily? He's gonna block all of it.
I'm going back, I'm used to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Next, we're going to have a presentation by the Lions Club, by Leo Club, Community Service. I'm introduce Cindy Daniels to you. Who's going to be, I heard from her tonight, the new president.
Yes, I am. I just want to know where the PowerPoint will come from. When I used to do these Board of Education meetings. First of all, I'd like to thank you for putting me on the agenda this evening. Much appreciated. And I'm here at the perfect time because I'm thrilled to see a student sitting up there with all of you. Wonderful. Congratulations. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to take a little bit of your time tonight. I'm going to share with you about Leo clubs. I'm going to tell you some of the opportunities that the Lions have available in your schools, and they are exciting. And because our membership has now grown to 47, we have some Lions that want to come in the schools and make them happen. So I'm thrilled. So thank you very much for letting me be with you. So Leo Club stands for Leadership, Experience, and Opportunity. And there's many different kinds of Leo clubs. Here in Windsor, for 4 years, you have had a school-based Leo club at Sage Park. And that serves children from age 12, goes all the way to 18. You do not have a Leo club at the high school. And that was because I didn't have a Lion that could, they're really like a liaison for you. So your high school kids come back over to Sage Park and join in with us. So we are an official club of Lions Club International. We're in 140 countries and we're more than 1 million children strong. So I had shared with you that they're 12 to 18 and we have many different types of clubs. You have an Alpha Club here in Windsor. And those kids, we recruit them at age 12, and like I said, they go back and forth. There are Omega Leos from 18 to 30, and we now have Leo Lions who are from 18 to 35. And those are all good opportunities because their dues are either non-existent or very, very small. So it's all good. What you're going to notice about your Leos here in Windsor and Leos all over the world is that they have service in the same global causes as the Lions. And you'll see those up on the top of the screen. So we serve diabetes, vision, hunger, the environment, and childhood cancer. And your Leos do that as well. Some of the things that your Leos here in Windsor have done. One of the things you're going to notice, if we were to go tomorrow night to Litchfield County, and I would talk to another club, you would see a whole different list of service because your Leos are going to reflect the needs right here in your community. That's what I like about you. I like everything about Leos. So your Leos actually did kids' sight vision screening on babies 6 months old. And we can go up to children age 12. The scanners that are in your schools were purchased by your Lions and to the tune of $18,000. But it was money well spent. I listened to your para educator of the year talk about early is best. We believe that too. The last time we did a vision screening here in the library, out of our 27 kids we screened, 3 babies were referred. We're doing the right thing. You'll also see Leos at Blind American Equality Day, which we have at the Tobacco Museum, which is outfitted with QR codes so that your sight impaired or print disabled children and adults can navigate that museum. We were the first one in the state to do that. But they're kids. So they want to collect towels for puppies. They want to collect peanut butter for puppies. And then we go and visit the puppies and they deliver it. So we are responsive to the fact that they're 12. We're responsive to the fact that we live in Windsor and Windsor is special. We have unique opportunities. And we're also responsive to the fact that these kids have to function in the community. So we want them out there. Your Leos did stomp out diabetes. Oh my gosh, I've never laughed so hard. We had 120 kids in the auditorium at Stage Park stomping out diabetes. And we moved for a certain amount of time and it was fun. They made flags from pallets, sending all the money to Camp Rising Sun, a camp for children with pediatric cancer. They have committed 2 years to Weekend Wheels. They make special birthday cards for the kids and do little birthday bags that go in. They had a pajama day for Connecticut Children's Medical, filled the toy closet at Connecticut Children's Medical, and have done many, many environmental cleanups. So our motto is where there's a need, there's a Leo. So I asked them, you know, what do you think in town will need your help? And that's a very interesting discussion. Very interesting. I'm sure you can appreciate that. So now I want to tell you a little bit about, now that you know a little about Leos, I want to tell you a little bit about other youth opportunities that we have as well. Lions Club International sponsors an international, I was outside working in the yard and I'm not sure what's going on. The International Peace Poster Contest. It's held for children ages 11 and up to 13. And for over 3 decades, we've been doing that. We have never sponsored an international peace poster applicant in the town of Windsor, and I would love for that to change. And now that we have more Lions that want to come into the schools and work, hopefully we can make that headway. The theme this year is Lead with Compassion. So I have an example. This is one of the winning entries. So this is a worldwide contest. I think Thailand, but I'm not sure. But that's the quality. And from what I've seen by being in the Windsor schools, you can do this because I'm blown away by the stuff you do here. Okay, so this is brand new and I'm very, very, very excited. So this is the International Peace Essay Contest. For the first time ever, they are opening up an opportunity for visually impaired youth. And I'm so excited I get chills because we're going to see kids using special applications on their computers to get this done. And it will be available here in town. So I'm more than excited. And it's a huge amount of money if they win. Lead with Compassion is also what's going on. The other opportunity that we have, and you should be very proud, you've had 3 winners, is the Leo Pin Design Contest. What happens? The Leos from all over, not just here, but all over the state, design a pin on paper. That then goes to a committee that makes a choice of the winning design. That pin then goes to the pin designer and it is cast in metal. This was last year's winner and he is a Windsor High School student, Victor Montea. And he was like, oh, it was wonderful. But we've had 3. So that's the Leos in a nutshell. And thank you so much for listening to me and also the opportunities that we would love to bring forward.
Before you leave, Cindy, I'm just gonna see if anybody here has questions for you.
Okay,
Put you on the spot.
I could talk all night about this. Does anyone have a question or a thought? Okay, thank you. Oh, there was one? Oh, you.
Want to come up to the microphone?
Certainly.
First, I want to thank you for what you do. And I know we're familiar with you through my work with Windsor Robotics, both of the robotics teams that help out at the craft fair. And when talking about putting this on the agenda, I talked to my colleagues about the importance of all the different service organizations we have. Service organizations really supplement everything that's done with limited funds, sometimes from town government. You're that extra, you're more than the icing on the cake, but you're the icing and more. And we thank you very much, and it's wonderful to hear how well you're growing. I know former board member, Mr. Ristis is part of that, as well as his wife Peggy. And I saw Peggy when we were stuffing backpacks for the back to school Office of Family and Community Partnership block party. So, and that's probably where you saw Mr. Halleck, probably at that event. And he's,
Well, I wasn't there, but you
Oh,
went
saw
to
one.
the back to school and spoke with some of the Leo team.
I did, yes. I was actually gonna mention that.
And that made me think that maybe I should come and give some information.
Actually,
Thank you.
question, Mr. Halleck?
I just wanna say, first of all, thank you. You know, you're definitely doing some great work. You know, I just wanna say, you know, anyway, we can partner up with Alliance, whether that's middle school, high school. I think that's a great thing for our kids and for the community at large. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much
Much
as
so.
well.
And it leads into a requirement when you get to the high school for doing community service. And I'm sure the Leos hit the ground running. I know Gail's involved with the Junior Air Force ROTC, who, when I talk to those kids at how many community service hours they got hundreds. So we're doing the right thing, and Alliance are very important to us here. So thanks again for being here.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
very
you
much.
all.
Next item on the agenda, Ms. Batchelder, introduction of new administrators.
Thank you. So administrators, new administrators, when I call your name, please stand up so everyone can see you. So first on the list is, she's definitely not new, Miss Erica Fangiulo. She is now the assistant principal at Windsor High School. Miss Fangiulo has dedicated the past 25 years to Windsor Public Schools in the roles of PE and health teacher, PE and health lead teacher, dean of students, and honestly, pretty much a lot of other things that she's been thrown over the past few years, as well as the head boys and girls swimming and diving coach. So congratulations. Our next new administrator, again, not new to Windsor, is Lindsay Jardine, our secondary special ed student. Lindsay's been an educator for over 13 years. She has been a special ed teacher, a PLC leader, and a PLC liaison, has also served as a team mentor for Windsor, and also has dabbled as the head varsity lacrosse coach at Windsor High School. Congratulations, Lindsay. Next up is Ms. Nicole Jones. Nicole Jones is, before you come, Nicole is actually a former student of Windsor High School, graduate of Windsor High School, and also a teacher, English teacher at Windsor High School for the past 5 years, and 5 years before that, she taught at a different location in Connecticut. But I also wanted to mention that Nicole was actually chosen as the state teacher leader resident during the 2021 school year. She served as the educational consultant across the state for the state of Connecticut. Ms. Tricia Lee is our new Clover Street principal. Tricia's been an educator for over 20 years. She has served in many leadership roles such as PBIS facilitator, data team leader, choice liaison, assistant principal, and now as principal. But the best part is she is a Windsor resident. And the only reason why she hasn't come to us sooner is because her and her husband felt that they should let their daughter have her Windsor high school experience, before she came in as an employee. So we're very excited to have Tricia. Next up is Christopher Laurero, is a new assistant principal at Windsor High School. Laurero started teaching in 2013 as an English teacher with New Haven Public Schools. He has also served as in many leadership positions such as AP coordinator, most recently before he came to us as the AP district coordinator, and also building leader for Summer Academy. Congratulations, Christopher. Another new, but not new, Megan Maines. She is our new STEM supervisor. Megan has been with the district for the past 18 years. She actually was hired by Dr. Hill 18 years ago. She started her career in 2004 as the math teacher at Windsor High School. She was then promoted in 2013 as the department chair, and now promoted again to our STEM supervisor for 9th through 12th grade. And last but certainly not least, you have already seen her, but we weren't able to introduce yet, Ms. Derry Thomas. Derry started her career in 2007 as a chemistry and physics instructor. Just saying those words is a little scary. She then also served as a STEAM instructional coach and an instructional technology specialist. And now she is our assistant principal at Windsor High School.
Thank you so much and welcome. I know I've met most of you, newbies this summer. Next item on the agenda is audience to visitor. Ms. Daly.
Good evening, this is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in 2 different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking raise hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with, "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Thank you very much, and we know we'll have some that could be virtual, so with 30 seconds left in the 3 minutes, Mr. Lockhart will raise a red card, and then when the 3 minutes is over, he'll hold that card up, hopefully until the person recognizes it. It's a little more difficult if someone's calling in on the phone to see a red card, unless there's new technology. But in that case, Mr. Lockhart, when there's 30 seconds left, we'll announce that, the speaker. So I guess first of all, is there anybody in chambers who'd like to address the board tonight?
evening, folks. Happy New Year for the new school year. My name is William Pelkey. I am at 133 Portman Street in Windsor, Connecticut. I'm here for two things to talk about. One, well, you guys probably heard my refrain before. I want to continue that push for technical and career education over college-bound track necessarily. I have a college degree, so there's nothing wrong in my own head not having a college degree. But I, again, want to push the alternatives, especially in light of what we've seen even with President Biden in forgiving student loans. Sometimes college isn't the option, and sometimes we're not going to have the options to give financing for students to go to these technical careers. Again, I went to New Britain High School. You could leave with nursing things. They had all the various shop, different technology, computer-aided design, drafting, and this was 20-some odd years ago. So all things that you could actually leave right away and actually have something to help your career. Ideally, at some point, I would love to see like even getting into a wing of the high school being a technical school. I have an uncle who graduated from Goodwood, and he is now in his 50s, and he did well enough without the college degree that he's in his mid-50s and has been basically retired, save for some Uber Eats driving just to entertain himself and make a little pocket money. But he was able to retire in his 50s without the college degree, but with that technical training that he got at Goodwin High School. So there's that. One other thing as it relates to funding, and I know, Mr. President, that you just talked about the limited funding that we have. The town of Windsor, the town council is now considering a tax increment financing district, a TIF, if you will. We do have one currently with Great Pond, but that's a very different scenario. But this is the first one they're looking to do. And while I don't have an outright problem with the idea per se, the idea of up to currently it's looking at 75% of any new funding being refocused back into that district and not into the schools can actually have a detriment on the amount of money that's coming to this, especially in light of the potential projects that we have. If you throw up a apartment complex that has 100 new units, let's say 20 of them, 25 of them have a student. Well, do your per pupil expenditure. Let's see how much we actually get out of that increased. So I would very much encourage the board. I would very much encourage members of the public to contact their town council members. Take a look, think about this. How does this affect? There's plenty of other things in the town. And like I said, I'm not fully against it, but I think the language as currently is, this is something that can last an agreement for 20 years. And the town council will have the opportunity to renew it for another 20 years. So that's funding that could potentially be coming here for Windsor education, but we may not have based on current language. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in chambers that would like to address the board?
Hi, James Madison, 8 Fitzmorris Circle. I just want to say that I'm extremely excited about some of the changes that are taking place in the school. Follow the timeline on this. Dr. Hill had a coffee talk in June, and there was some parents, including myself, who raised a concern around the level of chaos in schools. And, some of that can be attributed to COVID, but, time to lock it down. And Dr. Hill agreed, and he said he had some plans on how to do that. And my question was, how do you plan to propagate that down? Because when you're the leader, you can sit in your office and you can have some ideas, but how do you get that to go down to all the administrators and all the staff and make that happen? And that was my question to him. And he said, that's a little complex for a public forum. Let's meet offline. And so by the time we met, it was the 5th day of school. It was first week of September. And so my wife and I met with Dr. Hill, and the 5th day, that was that Friday, but that Monday, school started. And I picked up my son from school, and he was complaining like there's no tomorrow about how tight the discipline got. We have to go clockwise around the thing instead of 2 directions. I'm like, yeah, good, so kids can't go goofing off with each other. And you only have 2 minutes to change classes instead of 3. I'm like, yeah, good, 1/3 reduction in time to goof off, kid. And he's like, well, and we can't have backpacks in classrooms. Like, good, you don't need that junk, put it in your locker. And some kid had to turn his shirt inside out because there was some stuff on it. There was some other stuff. Oh, and the principal was threatening detention, and she's so mean. I'm like, yeah, go. And so I said, son, I understand, it's tough. But said, listen, there are thousands of students and there's only so many adults and they got to keep it under control. And, those are some of the rules. And so I was psyched with that feedback. And that is better ground truth than I could ever get from Dr. Hill on Friday, which was also good. And it was good to hear all the changes going on. But I'm really appreciative of some of the changes. And I also appreciate that when I told Dr. Hill some of these specifics, he said, I wasn't aware of those specifics because Ms. Jorgensen implemented those herself. I said, even better, because setting direction and letting your subordinate staff then figure out how to do the details is excellent leadership. So I'm extremely excited about that. So I left Ms. Jorgensen a message and told her thank you. And she got back to me with an email and said, you're welcome. So I love it. And I also said in the December 2021 coffee talk, I said to Dr. Hill and everyone there, if you want to run these schools like a military academy, you go right ahead. You have my support. So thank you.
Anyone else in chambers like to address the board? None? Anybody online, Ms. Daly?
There are currently no hands raised for the participants, and there are no open questions in the Q&A feature.
Without objection here, I'll close audience to visitor. Next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything, there's only a couple of items, anything that needs to be pulled? Pull something, Mr. Hill?
Human resources. Brief request.
Is there a motion?
Move that the board approves consent agenda item 4B, which is the approval of the Board of Education regular meetings for 2023.
Is there a second? Second. Made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Looking to see what we have from members.
I'm not seeing any chat.
Ms. Taylor? Cantor?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
You in favor of the motion to approve?
Oh, yeah.
Agenda item 4B?
Yes, we eyed. You probably can't hear us. Yep, we eyed.
Ms. Cantor?
Aye, thank you.
Motion carries 9-0-0. Next item,
Move that the board approve consent agenda item 4A, which is human resources report.
is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Lockhart, second. Mr. Panos. Since this was pulled, you get the first right at the apple.
The notice, we'll go through the numbers here, but we did have quite a few resignations, but I was wondering if you could speak to that. That just enormous number, by comparison to that, and of course, hired, maybe you can give us an update on the update hiring. We have all of the hires that we need. Maybe you were going to address this.
Yeah.
Recognize the Dr.
So, absolutely, Mr. Panel. So if you could hold till Matt Telder presents the staff report, I think it'll answer those questions.
Okay.
So there was a motion by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos, to approve the human resources report. Okay. Discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention? Cantor? Support the motion. Cantor?
Yes, thank you.
Carries 900. Next up is approval of minutes. Are there any minutes that need to be pulled? None? Is there a motion? Move that the minutes listed in 5A through C be approved for the June 1st, 2022 regular, June 30th, 2022 special, and July 19th, 2022 special meetings. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, Mr. Lockhart, second. Mr. Dave, any discussion? Hearing none. Vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Yay. Acknowledged. Motion carries 900. Next item is the student representative report. Abigail.
This year, improvements can be witnessed already across multiple facets of the school. The atmosphere this year feels much more positive and safe than last year, much as Mr. Madison mentioned earlier. Everything feels much more structured and organized, though there is always room for improvement. This is only our second year back to normalcy since COVID, and with this, there is an excitement for normalcy. Students are looking forward to the many events of post-COVID life. There has also been improvements in SEL, which is social emotional learning, which is of the utmost importance for the student body, as it aids in key life skills such as problem solving and proper social interaction, and promotes mental health. As it becomes more and more implemented and valued in classrooms, it provides students with more opportunities to learn these key life skills. That being said, there are still steps that we can take to make our school one that teaches SEL in the most effective way.
Thank you very much. And are there questions for our student representative? Mr. Wallace?
No questions, but welcome and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. At this point, you're more than welcome to stay and let knowing your things to do. And it sounds like with all of the AP classes you've been taking, you can be very free to leave at this time.
Captain list has my name on it.
In the future, just to let you know you're able to speak on anything who's here, but you're not up to it. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the president's report. Welcome again to everyone. It's been a busy time already in the school year. It's great to see that everybody's hitting the ground running. This summer, I was able to attend various events around town. Saw Miss Lee, Miss Galinsky, Mr. Wollaston, and Miss Cantor at a block party, Lancaster Woods block party, and also saw Miss Lee at a baseball game, a softball game with some of our students from Clover and JFK. I'll try to go through some kind of chronological order of things that I attended. I was able to attend a graduation at Windsor High School. Several students who were not able to graduate at the end of the year were able to graduate in August. And they have the diploma like everybody else who graduated a couple months before them. And it's great to see the number of people who came out, families and friends, to support them. We know how important high school education is. It was great to achieve that. I was also able to attend some of the enrichment and summer schools at Windsor High School. I unfortunately came near the end and I was wondering why in the non-enrichment, why there were so few students. I did find out, I was told that once they finished what they needed to do, they could leave. So as they finished the work that they needed to do. But again, the enrichment was part of federal funds that we've had, that we've known not only is there learning loss that had gone on, but connectivity with students and other students doing activities. And even though it's called enrichment, it doesn't mean it's not really learning that's going on. And it's great to see how well attended that it was. Also attended the CABE, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education Summer Leadership Conference, along with Mr. Wollaston, Mr. Lockhart, Dr. Hill. Mr. Lockhart was a panelist on the topic of building a supportive climate for students and staff. You also had a guest as a presenter, who's a guest student of our superstars, as Abby even mentioned, calls her, Kunti Darsandia from Windsor High School. She was one of two student presenters on the topic of the student voice. And Mr. Lockhart tells me that she's been recruited again for the November Cape Conference that many of us will be going to. I spoke at staff convocation at Windsor High School on August 23rd. Always a special day to see staff visiting with friends who they haven't seen, many of them haven't seen over the summer, but also so many new staff as well. But again, just as we heard tonight from our educator and paraeducator of the year, it's an inspiring thoughts that they gave, kind of as usual from our superstars. You know, to me, my wife being a teacher, they're all superstars. We need to continue to remember the importance that's given to educators in Windsor and throughout the state, doing all the things that they do. Social emotional learning this year, past year, and what was needed. We knew stories of good students who academically had done well before, who were struggling. So it's great to see that we're continuing that effort. Dr. Hill really has been a champion of that. Several of us on the board also attended the Office of Family and Community Partnership Back to School Block Party at Windsor High School. It was very well attended. And the only comment that I had was the lack of food. There were too many people there. By the time I had seen most of the principals and gone around to see all the principals of the schools, I went over to see if there was food, and they were cleaning up already. So Dr. Hill's promised me if they have that again that way, that he will see to it that there's additional food. It was great to see so many board members that too. Mr. Hamlis, Mr. Panos, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Lockhart, Ms. Taylor as well. I've been attending some of the sporting events at Windsor High School. I've attended the boys' football game against Weathersfield, which was a nail biter. Unfortunately, we lost by 1 point. I saw a boys' soccer game against Hartford Public and the girls' soccer game against Enfield, where I saw Mr. Panos. I'm sure Ms. Taylor has been going to all the volleyball games as her daughter's on the JV team there. I've not been to swimming yet. Hope to get to swimming and volleyball and field hockey, and any other sport that I've missed. October 4th, we'll be having a special board meeting on achievement. A lot of testing that had gone on wasn't ready at the end of the year, and Dr. Sid said that he would be presenting this fall. So excited about seeing that and seeing how we improve the achievement here at the Windsor Public Schools. As I mentioned, there's a convention of Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, as well as the Superintendent's Organization, and that's coming up in November. Most board members here are attending, I believe Dr. Hill as well. That's my report. Any questions? Seeing none. Next item of business is setting the graduation date for Windsor High School class of 2023.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each year, the Board of Education must vote on the date for graduation. We are requesting the board approve Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 as the date for graduation. Graduation will be held at the Bushnell in Hartford. Excuse me. State law now allows the graduation date to be set early on in the school year.
Okay, is there a motion? Mr. President, move the Board of Education approve Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, as the graduation date for the class of 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panis. Or any discussion or questions for Dr. Hill? Mr. Lockhart.
I just want to note that last year when we set the date, we set it for a time where the town council could not attend. And we took that into consideration to make sure it wasn't on a Monday. So hopefully this year, the town council will be able to attend the graduation this time around.
Thank you. So, motion on the floor. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion carries 9-0-0. Next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Hill.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So you've said a few things I'll touch, but I won't repeat everything. So we had this year's convocation, and I appreciate the comments from our visitor and from our student rep. I too believe that we are off to a great start this year. There is definitely a different level of energy across the district. I've been to 2 superintendent meetings for Hartford area, and it seems to be pretty much the norm for other districts as well. They're feeling like there's definitely a much more upbeat feeling, and people are really looking forward to this year, probably more so than they have in the past 2 years. So I'm just hoping that the team across the district, we just keep that moving, and that translates into greater outcomes for our students as well. I would like to thank the Windsor Chamber of Commerce and the Windsor Historical Society for hosting the new teacher luncheon this past August. This year, new teachers were treated to an ice cream social on the lawn of the Historical Society after a bus ride through town. I've always been impressed with the partnerships and the connections that we have with various town organizations since I first encountered Windsor in 2002, and never disappointed. There's always organizations willing to do something for folks in the district, especially our new people. I think it's a great way to welcome them and give them a feeling of belonging and being brought into a family here in Windsor Public Schools. As President Ferry said, on August 25th, we had our first district-wide Office for Family and Community Partnerships block party. This was an idea that I had after seeing the cookouts, and I know some parents, they miss it, they're concerned, but my idea here was the cookouts at each individual school, which can still happen at some point, right? You don't have to wait for one summer day to do a cookout. I use my grill all year, so they can do it. But I wanted to have something that brought the whole community together in one place. And our biggest spaces are the 2 campuses between the middle school and the high school. And I thought it was wonderful. As the leader, I'll take the blame for running out of food. It won't happen again. I think more people showed up than we expected, and that just happens, right? When there's something new, at times people don't show up, and at other times, people show up a lot. We'll definitely make sure we take care of the ice cream people. As I understand, there was a ice cream rebellion, so we'll make sure that that's fixed. And I also got a suggestion that we include other more ethnic foods. So we'll be reaching out to folks, maybe those of you listening out there in the community, we may be tapped to bring some of your best dishes to the block party, because we hope to do it again. And I want to thank Ms. Christine Morales and her team in her office for putting this together. I think they did a wonderful job, and I never want to go without thanking folks for putting in an effort. I had the idea in the winter, and I kind of threw it out there to the leaders, and she was like, "I'd like to take that on." And she did, and I can say she did it. I didn't have to do much follow-up with her. She just kind of kept me rest of what was going on and made it happen. And I like when I can just show up and put on a t-shirt. That's a good thing. So thank you very much, Christine. Students came back on August 29th. Cabinet and Central Office administrators visited all the schools on the first day of school, as has been the tradition. And as I said already, the overall vibe was very upbeat and positive. Students and staff were engaged in activities throughout the day. One of the things too that I promised to do, and I told the administrators here, is to be in the schools even more. So I have committed to being in the schools every single week. So I may not hit every school every single week, but I'm going to be in the schools every single week. And it's twofold. One, I get my high from the classroom. Like, I am an educator, so I seeing teaching and learning going on. And quite honestly, superintendent's office can get boring. I know that might shock some people. So I want to be in a school as much as I can. The other is I want the staff to know that I'm very serious about us moving and doing greater performance in terms of teaching, learning, and student outcomes. So if you want something as a leader, you have to not only state it, but you have to also role model and show that this is important. So I believe that my presence on a regular basis will show folks that this is something that I really want, to happen in the district. And the other piece that has to be in place when I talk about culture is actually the behavior. Right? And so, no, we're not going to have. I had to tell the student we're not going to have a military school at all. One time in the military was enough for me, but we will, continue to have a school that's in order. Because students learn best when there's not chaos, just to use the words that were thrown out, or disorder going on. So I want students to feel that they can give their best and they can learn at their best, and teachers to feel that the teaching environment is optimal for teaching and learning. So I want to continue to be present. So if you hear, he's always here, I'm not going to stop, but just want to give you a heads up. Okay. And next, update on facilities. The Windsor High School track is now complete and the new scoreboard has been installed. Unfortunately, I was not feeling well for that first football game, so I didn't get to see the scoreboard. I trust, because I haven't heard from anyone, that all the lights in the scoreboard worked, so we can see all the numbers. Maybe our numbers were a little off at the end of the game, so I'm not one who's good at losing, so I expect Coach Lee to really right the ship and the students to do that. And my final thought before I bring up Ms. Batchelder is my coffee talks will continue this school year. The first one is scheduled for Wednesday, September 28th at 10:30 a.m. at the Bean on Broad Street. The schedule for coffee talks is also posted on the website. So those will continue. That's something I started last year for anyone who's not familiar. I don't like to respond to a bunch of emails. I know people love writing the superintendent, and I know that's historically what's been done. And I think you've seen over the last 2 years, it doesn't work for me because it doesn't really solve things, because you can't convey feelings and emotion very much in an email, right? Unless you just want a flat piece of information. But I always invite folks to either you set up a meeting with me, we can meet in my office if it's that important. But I prefer that people come to the coffee talks. Twofold, we get to meet each other and I get to engage with people. And also, your question could be a question that actually impacts others in the town. So there are very few questions that are really all that individual, though many believe that. So I want those questions brought out. And also, quite honestly, I've learned in 30 years, this is now my 30th year, started in 1992, that some questions that people want to ask you privately, they will not ask that question when there's a group. And so I've determined in 30 years and 20 years of that being in leadership, that question was not really that important. And the community has shared with me, and as I run into people across town, they've appreciated these talks and the candor, and I will continue to give it to them straight. And if I don't have an answer, as I tell them each time, I will get you an answer very quickly. So at this point, I'm going to ask Ms. Danielle Batchelder to give us an update on everyone's favorite topic since COVID began, besides quarantine, is transportation. Ms. Batchelder?
Okay, so I'm sure everyone knows we have had somewhat of a rocky start. It was absolutely better than last year, but we still are short on drivers. So we currently have two drivers that will be returning this coming school week. And then 2 drivers that are currently in training. So we will have 4 additional drivers by October 1st. Once those 4 drivers are back and added, we will be fully staffed for the actual routes. And I say that with a little caveat, because all that means is we are staffed for all of our current routes. If one person calls out, we're now short. So we have 45 routes, we have 45 drivers. Currently, we do have drivers that we're pulling from Creek and from other surrounding towns that just have a few more drivers, and they've been helping us out. So these 4 additional ones will allow those 4 to then go back to their original yards. But again, we would call on them if we need to, if we have subs. Part of another problem we have faced this past couple weeks is our drivers are driving in the morning and then calling out in the afternoon. So making our afternoon routes delayed by a lot. Unfortunately, OE and Pequannock are definitely feeling the brunt of all of that. And it just so happens to be both those schools, and those are the littlest people we have. I know both principals and assistant principals are, having monitors on the bus. Paras, anyone we can get to at least help with the bus routes for the students, but that's what we're facing currently. Any questions?
Let's do questions now about anything that's been said to date, so. Anna, looks like you wanted to raise your hand.
Well, between now and October 1st, there's no guarantee of being on time with all buses. Pretty much certain that we're not going to be on time.
Right, so every morning, Terry, who's our our manager of DACO, will send an email to all principals and admin assistants of the schools and let them know which buses are delayed. Some are delayed for the bus stop and not the school. That happens mostly at the high school, a little bit at Sage, but again, it's the trickle down effect, so the elementaries are always the worst. When we have any delays or driver shortages. Currently, we only have 1 bus that actually drops and then goes back out. And again, it drops at Clover and then it goes back out for OE.
You mean
making
for the same school level? No.
For the same time. So the bus will drop at Clover, drop all the students off at Clover for say 8:30, and then they're just starting their OE run at 8:30 when school starts at 8:30. That's 1 bus that we have in that predicament right now. Pequannock bus 11 was like that. We've recently just got a driver, so that has been better, not perfect, but it's not an hour late.
Well, if you know that, is there anything we can do? I know it may add costs, but is there anything with smaller buses we can do to accommodate that?
It's the drivers that we don't have. It's not the buses.
Well,
The same license, is it the same license?
Is the same, that's a good question.
Yep, so the small type 2 buses are an additional license. The only non-additional license is an STV or like a minivan that you or I would drive, which will not help.
There's no conveyance that we could use at all, so that would be, I mean, even something very small, sort of 10 kids or something like 10 people.
We did add that. Well, DACO added 2 more type 2s to our routes in lieu of the bigger buses in order to help out or to shorten other runs so we could get on the road quicker for the elementary tier. But again, it goes back to drivers. We don't have drivers, even for the STVs, unfortunately. We don't have drivers. We have our dispatchers actually driving at times, and then there's no one at the office.
And there's no alternative, does Uber offer a service?
I'll
No.
speak to that when she's done. Oh, no.
So, I mean, state law, you can't, those type of,
Well, a parent could obviously
To and
Uber
from.
their child, right?
I'm sorry? I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
A student, a parent, if they saw their child was late, they could call an Uber, child and have, no, it's not allowed?
So you're supposed to be 18 years old, right, to ride in an Uber. But I want to be clear because I get what you're saying. You're trying to be helpful. But I want to make sure the public understands. So Windsor Public Schools is not offering up Uber. We're not sponsoring Uber. We're not promoting Uber at all. And we have to be careful because there have been some issues around those kinds of organizations with students. So I want our families and our students to be very careful. So we are not recommending Uber.
Okay, so I guess what I'm just simply getting at, I'm not favoring Uber, I'm stuck on Lyft.
We're not offering up Lyft, Uber, your taxi, my taxi, none of those.
I'm just saying, is there any sort of other than DATCO type service that could serve without having monsters in large buses or whatever it requires in order to get some special 4-month long? I have no idea why it takes 4 months to get a license. But you know, it's something that would fit and take care of the current problem till the end of September, which I guess is not much. But potentially, anytime somebody's missing, you're going to be going through this. So that's, yeah.
So they're still actively recruiting. These are just in the pipeline, if you will. So what we have done is push some of our students on type 2 buses to Haven, which is another transportation company we've always had for special ed services. Because they do have, 7 to 10 passenger vehicles that we have put more special ed students over to Haven. So then we free up DATCO for the bigger buses to, we're doing that currently. This is not, it's nationwide driver shortage.
All right, let me just follow up with the issue of reporting. Can be a regular update to the report so that at least those buses that are going to be 20 minutes late, we can get to the cell phones of all the,
Yes, so
parents so that they know to wait or to decide to take the child to school.
right. So, yep. So after we talked a week or two ago, I did pass that along to DATCO, and so they've been implementing that. But again, that list that we receive every morning, last year we were receiving it for 10 to 12 buses. We're receiving it for about 4 or 5 buses right now. So it's not as massive as it was last year by any means. I know people aren't happy because it's still affecting their children, even if it's only 1 bus. But DATCO is now sending out updates in the morning.
Every half an hour or something like this? Or for
No,
every level, let's just say every school level, you start with the high school, go to the middle school. So we should be able to send out to those buses to all the people who are on bus 21 or whatever it is, so that they can get an update so that they know come out 10 minutes early, when it's going to be half an hour late.
Right. So again, that initial email goes out from DATCO to all principals and admin assistants at about 6:30 in the morning. It really does not affect high school or middle school because that's tier 1 and 2. It's all on the elementary that's really getting the lateness. So they have been informed to then send another update as soon as they know. So if that bus at Sage doesn't even get out of Sage parking lot until say 7:30, when it really should be leaving Sage by 7:15, they're already contacting the school to then make that additional robocall.
Okay, but if you're missing 4 buses, let's say, which 4 buses there are, and so therefore they're going to be late for service, right?
Yeah,
That's
but also,
that's going to affect all schools.
so now we have 3 tiers. So if the high school gets held up for whatever reason, it could be traffic, it could be an accident for whatever reason, that's now going to affect middle and elementary, no matter what.
Okay, I think I'm going elsewhere. You know that you don't have 4 drivers.
yes.
Okay, so does that mean that out of the gate, those four bus runs are going to be late? How do you handle that?
So 2 routes right now are covered, so the 4 routes are cut to 2 right now for 2 buses. So we have, instead of 4 drivers, we have 2 drivers. Instead of 4 routes, we have 2 routes. So we combine 2 buses as long as we can based on number of kids. So those buses, like there's one at Clover, I know. We actually, the parents now know the time because they know those 2 buses are combined right now. And until we get that driver coming back, they're gonna stay at that time. They still get the email, they still get the notification, but every day it's late.
And it's just I'm emphasizing that we should be able to inform the parents how late it's approximately. So
We can, absolutely, but I wanna just point out, we can inform when we're informed. So, and I'm not trying to push it back on DACO, but there are drivers that don't call into base if they're late. If they're out of that 10-minute window, they are supposed to call the base and supposed to report it. There are drivers that do not do that. No matter how much I put pressure on them, they don't do it. They're not our employees. I can't. It's up to DACO to figure that out as the employer. But there are absolute drivers that don't call, so we don't know if they're late. And that's the biggest issue, I think, because we can notify till the cows come home if we get the notification.
thank you.
I know, Jill, you've been waiting, so the floor is yours.
You're on mute, Jill. Ms. Cantor, you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it's the beginning of school. We're into 3 weeks, but I've had a lot of my constituents calling me they said it's the same problem again. We're on year 2. No resolution, no phone calls. I had someone contact me this week. Their child goes to Sage Park. The school starts at 5:08. The bus still wasn't there at 8:15. They called DACO and they said the bus is on its way. So they never had any announcements made to them. So, I know that Windsor Public Schools contracted with DACO. I think more needs to be done for notification. And I realize that there's a shortage of bus drivers, but I think we have to look for more opportunities. And I think as Windsor Public Schools hired DACO, you need to constantly contact them because I'm getting contacted and the parents are contacting DACO. And I think it's unreasonable to say the bus is on the way when school started at 5:08 and it's 8:15. The bus is still not there. Thank you.
Mr. Lockhart? We had DACO before us in May. Said that they would work on the problem over the summer. It's like this month period to work out issues. But I want to say I've filled a lot of calls. I've been personally affected by this. I am taking a child into Quantic almost every day now. So it's past 8:30, 9:19. And I also have a lot of calls. So I understand the frustration. I'm quite frustrated as well, but I share with the executive committee. I believe Dr. Danielle are doing a great job in addressing the matter. Number 2, it's all on DACO. There's no way that we can sugarcoat this. At the end of the day, we get the notification at 6:30. Any other future notifications that we are requesting, I believe Dr. Hill through Danielle, through Ms. Battel, that has gone and made that request. I've personally been getting the notifications when the buses are coming late, bus 25 and bus 11, just for transparency. But at the end of the day, what needs to happen is that DATCO needs to just give us a little bit more customer service to make sure that their drivers are following their policy that they set to make sure that we can have well-informed parents. Because we got parents that have to go to work, got kids that it's getting darker, the time is changing, it's gonna be getting colder, and it's a safety issue for me at this point. I just think that we need a little bit more from DATCO because I truly believe that if Windsor Public Schools or any of our entities were holding up DACO in any way, shape, or form, they would be in here really holding Dr. Hill and his board very accountable for those things. So we have to do better, and I'm hoping that DATCO is listening very clearly to our superintendent on this matter. This is something we take very seriously. I do understand other school districts in the state and the country are going through that. I truly sympathize, but to hear that DATCO is pulling from other towns is not good, because that pendulum is going to come back around. We're going to be well-staffed, and if another town is falling short, we're going to pull from Windsor. At the end of the day, DATCO is going to take care of DATCO and pull their resources wherever they can to make sure they meet their contracts. And at the end of the day, the children of Windsor Public Schools, or any child in the state of Connecticut, they're not pawns just to maintain a contract. So DATCO, I'm respectfully requesting you to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else on this? Mr. Halleck?
I just had a question. Are there any maybe private transportation companies in the area that might be able to help us solve this issue? Sure.
So, yeah, unfortunately, no. I mean, every school district, I belong to, obviously, to the listserv for all of my positions in every district in Connecticut. And we're actually, and I hate to even say it, we're actually on the good side. I have districts that are at 15 drivers shortage, 8 drivers shortage, and we're at 4. It's not great, but it's better. I hate even saying that, but that's the reality. So all bus, I mean, even my town, in my district, it's, every morning I'm getting that call.
A big concern for me is, what if we have another round of COVID and that goes to our buses? What are we gonna do in a situation like that?
What's that question?
If COVID hits again, so we will be doubling up and we will be very late to school.
Anyone else with questions? One thing I'll say then is, following up on Mr. Lockhart, we had DATCO in here. I was really hoping that during the summer that this we'd be in a better, I know we're better off than we were at the end of last year, but it's all about money. DATCO wants to make their profit to what they can, even if they wanted to pay above probably the union wage that's there, or bonuses, they may have chosen not to do that. And so here we are, and I know my feeling is if this is not better by the next meeting, we have another month, in my opinion, that, I'd like to have our attorney, we're spending our money, but I think it's well spent, because this is affecting learning, especially at the elementary schools, but across the district, and see what pressure that our attorney can have on DATCO and looking at it about alternatives. So again, I know it's the beginning of the school year. I know we're better off than we were before. When DATCO came here in May, we asked them, what's the ideal number? And it wasn't the number of routes. It was because drivers do get sick. They do have conflicts. I didn't know about taking off the afternoon routes, but they said they wanted 10% more. So for us, that would mean 4 to 5 more drivers. So even if we get fully staffed, we really need, from DATCO's own words, 4 or 5 more drivers. I guess we'll move on to the next item, unless you have anything else on your part. We'll talk about staffing update. Dispatch over.
Right,
The next agenda.
yeah, okay. So I say-
Am I doing the next agenda?
We're done with the buses?
Done with buses.
Staffing update, dispatch.
Okay, so as we do every year, I'll provide a staffing update. So we have had a good, successful hiring season, in my opinion. We were lucky that we were able able to actually go back in person to career fairs. So we had, I think close to 15 of our administrators at the UConn fair back last April, I believe. And we were able to actually hire people right then and there. Obviously, they didn't talk to me yet, but they had that verbal conversation with the principal or supervisor. All of our advertising is still saying the same through all of our media outlets. Just to give you a little snapshot of what hiring looks like. So every teacher administrator is hired through a panel at the school level with administrators and other teachers and other staff members. In the end, they always, if it's a certified teaching position, they come through me before they are hired as another layer of an interview. If it is anyone above a teacher, they would meet with myself and Dr. Hill. I was very excited about new teacher orientation this year. We did kind of change it up a bit. Not that the old way was bad under Dr. Hill, but I did change it up a bit. So, just joking. So, no, in all seriousness though. So, one of the things we did change, and thank God for Bonnie Feynman. So, instead of like the grueling hot bus tour for about 40 minutes that people have gotten sick on, motion sickness, I asked Bonnie to do Bonnie, and she did a great history lesson, if you will. It made it fun, and they were competing on just different fun facts about Windsor. And they definitely all loved it. I mean, Bonnie had new teachers running up together, trying to buzz a horn to try to answer. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And then after that, we went to the Historical Society, which was a little different this year too. Instead of having everyone inside in the Historical Society where you can't see anything but each other because you're all stuffed in, we did an outside venue of just an ice cream social. So then it opened all the Historical Society buildings. So all of our staff actually went and actually could tour and visit, and they were just doing all the different activities that they could do, that if anyone went to visit would do. So we got great feedback from that visit as well. Our stats, so overall we had 87 new employees. This includes all staff, paras, teachers, administrators, SEL specialists, behavior tech, food service, safety monitors. And of the newly hired certified staff, 5 of those were contracted last year at the end of the school year, so it was a limited contract, and now they are fully on board with a teacher contract for this year. And of the newly hired certified staff, which was 49, the breakdown between male and female was 22.45% male, 77.55% female. And of the newly hired staff, 21.4 of them were educators of color, which is bringing our district percentage total to 21.15. And to answer your question, Mr. Pionis, from earlier, you had said that we had a large resignation. So it wasn't actually, we've had much larger. We had 41 resignations. So of those resignations, 5 were limited staff. 7 of those people would not have been offered another contract with Windsor Public Schools. 9 of them went to other districts because they pay more during that middle section of the salary scale, which I have talked ad nauseum about, that we have to add money into the, step 3 to step 8 to keep our teachers. 3 moved out of state. 3 people actually got job advancement, so they left for more or less a promotion. 2 left education altogether, and 4 of them were on leave of absence or family medical leave for child rearing or from COVID that just said, I'm not coming back.
Questions for Ms. Batchel?
Well, it is an unusually large number of resignations, right? 87?
87.
87 was what we
80, yeah.
hired district-wide.
You hired,
87 is paras, SEL specialists,
Oh, yeah.
administrators.
okay. Teachers, you said certified resignation. 41. Well, that does sound high.
I just outlined what
She
the
just broke
reasons.
it down, so it's,
Want me to say it again, Mr. Panos?
What?
Do you want me to read the reasons why people left again?
Yes, well, you
Sure.
said it with them. 41, and you say.
So
well, you could just send a breakdown of that. Okay, go ahead.
Say it. So,
I'll hear this.
okay, I'll send an email too if you want.
Yeah.
5 were limited contracts. So we hired them at the end of last year, just fill in for a month or two. 9 people went to other school districts for more money. 3 people moved out of state. 3 people got job advancements. 2 got out of the profession altogether. 2 said education is not for me.
Okay.
4 were FMLAs or leave of absences from COVID, so from 2 years ago that they've been extended leave of absence and then just said, I'm not coming back.
Okay.
And 9 of them would not have been offered another contract with Windsor Public Schools.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Back to Dr. Hill. Oh, Ms. Batchel, sorry. Fiscal year 2022 year-end financial. First, I'm going to see, is there a motion?
Move the board approves the return of $2,186 to the town with details of projected budget / category surpluses and deficits advertised. Final amount subject to completion of the audit.
Is there a second? Motion made by Mr. Lockyer.
So it's very similar to what I presented in June. We still haven't had our audit yet. We're actually, the town always says auditors are in the house starting this week. So yesterday they're at town hall and they'll be at the Board of Ed offices within the next couple weeks. So our return amount is $2,186. That's one of the lowest we've ever had, but I have updated you guys throughout the year last year. Special ed tuition was an issue, is an issue, so I will definitely keep everyone abreast of that as the months go on for this school year.
Any questions? So I guess even though we're giving a small number, the town is going to be reimbursed because of special ed. If it doesn't come back to us, the state gives it to the town, and it'll be a larger amount.
They got $600,000 more than they thought they would
Thank you.
from the state.
Make sure that was clear. There's a motion.
However,
Under the gun.
yeah, I was just commenting on that, we are supposed to get more, but the state does not give us all what they.
We only get,
Made these
Very
promises
true.
40 years ago, they keep making these promises. They're not worth much, anyway.
The motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Abstentions. Motion carries 9-0-0. Committee reports. I'm assuming there are no committee reports. Matters, announcements, regular Board of Ed meeting. Board of Ed special meeting Tuesday, October 4th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. in the LPW boardroom. Next regular board meeting is Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, 7 p.m. in the boardroom. Audience to visitors, Ms. Daly, Why don't we start with people who might be on live or on the phone?
Good evening, this is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in two different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and by clicking the raise hand icon or by dialing *9 on your phone. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Is there anybody online who wishes to address the board?
There are no hands raised at the moment, but there was a comment after the last audience visitors closed, and actually she responded saying that her question has been answered over the course of the meeting. So there are no other additional new comments and there are no raised hands.
Anybody in the boardroom would like to address the board? Definitely dinner's been postponed for another few minutes. Three.
Yeah, okay, Will Pelkey, 133 Portman Street again. Just going off some Bureau of Labor statistics, this is the federal government looking at their things and their different reports. Now, the federal government lags behind, obviously, in real time, and of course, COVID really destroyed things on that. But looking at the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics and looking at salaries for vocational and technical careers, I think Mr. Lockhart would be pleased to know that fire supervisor or captain is actually one of the highest in the country for those. And I know Windsor just started that program here at the high school. I would definitely love to hear an update at that at a very future meeting, how that seems to be going. So I'm just putting that out there. But a lot of the top 7, actually, according to the federal government, are all jobs, and this is from 4 years ago, are all jobs north of $60,000 a year for starting. So if you think about it, potentially no student loan and 4 more years of earning, or at least maybe 4 years earlier towards retirement. So again, just pushing that technical education. And one last thing that made me think of it, when it came to buses, I've already spoken to a few board members. I have experienced on my street, Portman Street, buses speeding on the street. And it's one of those things. I live 3 houses down from the intersection of Henry and Portman. Yeah, I don't have my radar gun out by any means, but just like we all do, you know when somebody's going much faster now. Did I get a bus number or something? No, I had my hands turning wrenches inside of the brakes of the car. I did have my neighbor. She was bringing out her trash cans, and this was the very first week of school. I did have one driver stop and talk to her for a brief moment. You know, somebody fine, being neighborly. But he said, yeah, I'm just killing time, tooling around, waiting for the next, whatever the afternoon pickup was going to be. So we just have someone who's joyriding in a school bus around the neighborhood, eating fuel up. And, you know, I don't know how the pay works, but just wanted to put that out there that that was just one employee. Everybody has a bad day or is doing something every once in a while. Employees have it. But again, the buses on my street, I have noticed, are going far faster than they ought to be. And when I can, I'll try to get a number or license plate or something to do that. But just something that I've noticed. And that's it. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who wants to address the board? At this point, I'd like to, folks, because we postponed the school liaison reports, ask if anybody wants to say something regarding any of the schools. I know many of you have not met yet with principals, et cetera, but or if you have any other announcement you'd like to make, I'd like to start with
I have none. I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Howard.
Thank you. I'll start with Sage Park, during the block party, I got to speak to many of the grade staff that work at Sage Park, as well, teachers and students and families. Yes, some great conversation there, very Leo Club, which was mentioned earlier. Also, Principal Jurgensen has a coffee talks of her own coming up on September 8th, 29th, and 30th. So, in the 6th grade, 28th, work each day. That's 7th grade. 2 days. She's starting that. Starting at 7:15 a.m. and go until 8 o'clock. So I think that's a great. As far as announcements, I want to welcome back all of our teachers, our staff, and our students. Hopefully everyone had a great summer. I also want to thank everyone who came out and participated in the tavern trial, whether you volunteered, you ran the race. Definitely a great event. I know one of my favorite things throughout the year is coming up that hill and making the turn, and everyone's cheering you on, and you really feel like a rock star in that moment. So, and finally, I just would like to say, I'm happy birthday to my son, Mason, who turned 1 year old yesterday.
He's probably still watching, but he should be good. Come on, Katie, get him to bed. Thank you. Mr. Wallaston?
Well, first things first, we're halfway there, right? So, congrats on everybody making it thus far and our great new addition. We're glad to have you here. Yeah, just in light of that, I've been thinking a lot about our purpose and our mission here at the board, and I'm hoping that we can use this halfway point as a time to reflect on just why we're here and what our mission is to do as a collective team, superintendent and his office included. Yeah, I've just been pondering that a little bit. Maybe it's a little midterm crisis or such, but in addition to that, we met yesterday at Windsor High for their school governance council, and we had our in-person meeting. It was the first time I've had one. I hope to have more in the future because it was pretty, the energy and the collaborativeness when we all come together in person is just different. So it was really nice to be in person, and two issues that they spoke on or that we talked around were the ending of food services, the free and reduced lunch, and the second would be cultivating like classroom environments to increase engagement and just to keep students that have trouble in class and coming to class on time. Just to touch on the first part, I hope, maybe it's the midterm crisis speaking, but I hope we can do something about the ending of food services because it touches me personally. As I told the governance council, I'm one of 10. I have 9 siblings. 2 parents got married real young and just kept popping them out. So here I am at number 8. And towards the beginning, with the first few children, the way free and reduced lunch works, we were getting free and reduced lunch, but when they start getting older, even though my parents are still financially supporting the elder people who are not in district or they're not in the school system, they're still putting out money towards those kids. But the amount of support that the younger kids that come down, me being 8, it goes down from being free to be reduced, and as we go on, less reduced. So it's an issue that touches me personally because as you see, I wear glasses, and in education, my educational career, my 2 biggest barriers to education was eyesight and was those lunches. Because having 10 kids, having to put that $20 a week, it starts to multiply a little bit and it can become a real bill. So I know my situation is unique, but I know everyone's situation in the school is unique. So I feel like this is something that we've got to be brainstorming about and be extremely compassionate about, because kids got to eat. And the same way we're trying to do SEL and cultivate and ignite a passion for education in students' hearts, it's going to be real hard to do on an empty stomach. And not everyone is bold enough to march on down and say I need help. And a lot of people are afraid to say I need help, try to get the help, and then not be able to get the kind of help that they thought they could get, or just be turned away. So I hope going forward, this term, or not this term, but on this side of the term, we got a year in, we see how we can work with each other. Hopefully we can brainstorm and just get something good done for the kids that we love and serve.
Thank you. Ms. Kalinsky?
Thank you. I have just a few updates. I met with Mr. Gruber and Mr. Wood from OE, and they were extremely happy with how this school year has started out. So aside from the bus transportation, last year the parents dropping off their kids was much larger, and it created a lot of havoc within the school. This year alone, I would say within the first week, they got it completely under control, and the cars are not going out into the middle of Kennedy's Road anymore. They've done a very great job with that. So kudos to the staff, the security monitor, who has definitely helped with that, and then of course to the parents who were literally understanding how to drop off their children effectively. So that's been really good. They also had their open house this past, not yesterday, but the Monday before, I think that was September 12th. And that was the first open house where the entire school was able to come all at once since pre-pandemic, and it was a huge success. My family went, and we had to park all the way around in the back. I swear we were like parking down in the fields. But it was standing room only in the cafeteria, and you could just tell everyone was excited to be there to learn about the school and to just hear what was going to be different this year from last year. So that in itself was just a wild success, and I think it really jumpstarts the year to just be on the right track and have everyone excited. So kudos to OE. I mean, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, any comments? Ms. Taylor, can you hear us?
Yeah, it says my connection is unstable, of course, right when I need to speak. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. First of all, I hear that our JV and varsity girls volleyball teams won tonight. So that's number one. And just encouraging everyone in the community to come out to those sports that maybe aren't as popular, to support them as well. We have some amazing scholar athletes in Windsor. So if you haven't, ducked your head into a lacrosse game or a volleyball game or a swim meet, I encourage you to do so. But also encourage you to do a football game as well. But all of our athletes are really working hard, straight off and throughout the summer they were working. So kudos to all of the parents. It is not easy to have an athlete in Windsor because the curriculum is definitely hard and they have to keep up no matter how late they got home at night. So that's my sharing for the evening. Thank you.
Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody back. I look forward to this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be trying to attend more activities in Windsor at the schools and just the town events. And it's really good to see everybody, even during the summer. I hope everybody had a great summer, and I look forward to being at the next board meeting. Oh, and the important thing, Dr. Hill, is I'm not running a COVID den. Forward to being at the next board meeting. Oh, and the important thing, Dr. Hill, is I'm not running a COVID den now. I'll see you later.
We'll be meeting with the new principal on Friday. Yes, sir. Kind of busy during the summer with SBA, Craig, Cade. Not gonna go through everything, but the high points are, I was appointed by the Majority Leader Jason Rojas to serve on a working group for air quality for all the buildings in the state of Connecticut. So that first meeting is tomorrow. Also got a correct meeting tomorrow on behalf of Windsor. I think I'm double booked there. And just for transparency for the board, I attended the leadership, SBA leadership conference in San Antonio this past July, August, and I was nominated to serve as Northeast Regional Director on the national board. So looking for confirmation April 2023 in Orlando. So it was something I was not looking for. I was kind of tapped on the shoulder. I've done a lot of advocating and complaining and fighting. Someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You are what we need on the board." So we'll see what Orlando brings, but I think I will be wearing yet another hat. But I personally think that bringing Windsor everywhere we go and making sure that we have a seat at every table possible and gain from those experiences and bring them back to the town, make our town better and make our state better. So I'm excited about the opportunity and the prospects of it. And hopefully I don't get put on my couch anytime soon by picking up these hats. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much, Mr. Candace.
I just, if I start, you know what's gonna happen. So you want me to start?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Candace. Looking for a motion. Do you have any comments, Mr. President? I'm not gonna comment, as I had the president's report, people are ready to go home. Adjourn, Mr. President. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Lockwood, seconded by Mr. Panos. I'm assuming there's no discussion on this, so I'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries 900. We are adjourned at 8:58. Look at God.